Sunday, everybody. December 10th. Coming to you guys, Johnny Gunn Investigation, along with my little true crime partner, Luna. Just want to introduce my little buddy here, Luna, to you guys. Say hi, just before we get on with our story for Sunday, December 10th. Johnny Gunn's Investigation. How's everybody doing? Hope you're enjoying your weekend, getting your holiday shopping done, and being safe. So we have a story to go over tonight together. Again, grab some hot chocolate, a drink, coffee, whatever it is you like. Another thrilling story tonight. Gonna hurt the heart. But this one has to go out to the mom, the family, the community, and the friends in the school and the little cheerleading team. So the story we're going to bring to you today, guys, it goes into Texas, a small town again, Edna, Texas. Small town, guys. It's a little heartbreaking. Every single story is a small town, not a big city. So we got a girl, Lisbeth Medina, 16 years old, very active in school with the community, cheerleading team. Texas, very big in football, as we all know. Texas is very large in high school football. She was one of the high school football cheerleading team members and was very good at it. And everybody adored her and loved this young girl, okay? Which you'll see. You see the pictures on the thumbnail, and also we're going to have a clip here with Jesse in a little bit from Long Crime. See, here we are in Edna, Texas on a Tuesday. The mom's very excited because she's a single mother living in an apartment complex with her daughter. Cottonwood Apartments in Edna, Texas, I'm sorry. So her mom's getting prepared for the community town's parade for the holiday and the football game coming up because it's one of the senior varsity football games, which is one of the championship games that they're getting ready for. So her mom's at this parade, the whole parade, looking for her daughter, wondering, where is she? Why isn't she in the parade? She's supposed to be performing in the parade with the cheerleading team. No sign of her daughter. Thrills are going through this mom, okay? And her little daughter, Lisbeth, not Elizabeth, Lisbeth Medina, did not show up to the event. Heart chilling. So her mom goes home to the apartment complex over there at the Cottonwood Apartments where her and her daughter lived. And she goes in to see a very thrilling, chilling, horrific scene. Something that no parents in their life ever wants to ever have to go through. Her daughter was dead in the bathtub. And it wasn't suicide, people. She was placed there. It was a murder. And here we have to go back and wonder why. Motive. Who? And how? Because from what we know, the way that this young girl, a beautiful 16-year-old cheerleader, loving and living life to the fullest, taken from us, this community, her mom and family, and her friends in such a horrific way. This was turned over to the Texas Rangers now, not local law enforcement. This is turned over to the Texas Rangers, guys, because it was a capital murder. This was a very brutal, horrific murder, the way this girl was killed. We're not going to go into that, because right now we have to worry about the family, the community, and the friends. But this girl was killed in a way that nobody could ever imagine or ever wants to imagine. So everybody, pray for this girl in heaven and for her mom and the families and the friends in this community of a small town, Edna, Texas, because they're hurting, they're mourning, and they're having these get-togethers and gatherings in honoring of her at the football game and at the Dallas, Texas stadium, honoring this young cheerleader. And not to get off of this story, guys, but just not long ago, if you guys can remember, just here locally in St. John's, Florida, a 13-year-old cheerleader was brutally murdered by her student in school, a classmate. This 13-year-old cheerleader in Florida, Tristan Bailey was her name, just to come up. These young kids just being murdered and killed. It's ridiculous. So now here we are in Texas. They're mourning and can't get over the death of this young 16-year-old cheerleader. Her mom can't believe what she had to come home to. So we're thinking, and there is some video footage of somebody running away from the apartment complex, a car, and everybody's got to remember, cameras are everywhere. Cameras tell all, see all are on the best evidence you can ever have in the hands of any law enforcement agency. They love it because it tells all. So hopefully they catch this guy and they catch him fast because he's a murderer. And they do think it could have been a break-in turned into a murder, but I don't know whether he was stalking her, followed her home, knew she was alone, maybe knew her. How did she? There was no sign of forced entrance into the apartment at all. So I don't know. Maybe she knew him. He knocked on the door and she let him in. And the worst thing could have ever happened to this poor young girl at 16 years old in December, getting ready for the holidays, a holiday parade where she was supposed to be at. Her mom there waiting to see her daughter in this beautiful event, never saw her daughter. At that time, whether mom was not enjoying, probably wondering, but also there at the parade, never realizing that her daughter, just miles away, was being brutally murdered. So we have to find this guy, and these Texas Rangers are the best. They will find this guy, I guarantee it. And guys, so our hearts have to go out to another murder, guys. I'm sorry I bring, such bad stories. I'm sorry, guys, but that's what this is. This is true crime. And unfortunately, lately, the crime has been on kids, and it kills me. I have 2 daughters and a grandson. So it kills me to even think of this. And my daughters were cheerleaders, so I can just imagine what this woman is going through. So guys, Johnny Guns Investigates. Hit the like, subscribe. I thank you guys for listening. Let's talk about this. Let's chat. Get a cup of coffee, something to drink. Getting a little cool outside. The weather's brisk. And let's talk about this, guys, because it hurts me. It really gets to my heart that another young kid, a young woman, is taken from this earth, her family, her friends, and the community, and is not going to move on in life. It kills me. We have a video we're going to watch with True Crime with Jesse, my buddy. He's great. I love this guy. He brings some really good information. He has the the spokesperson and the attorney who has been involved in helping the family of the Bailey family of the cheerleader who was brutally murdered by a classmate in Florida. And now he is talking about how he can help this mother, because she has to be helped by not only the press, but also everything else that she has to go through. So we're going to hear from him and some tips on what he thinks should go on and how he can help this woman as well. The mom, Mrs. Medina, in her suffering the way she is right now. She needs anything and any support that she can get. You know what I mean? So this guy, we're going to watch, and we'll talk about this video here in a second, guys. Let's go and start this.
Up for a parade in her small town. When her mom goes home to check on her, she finds a horrific crime scene instead. We're speaking with Matt Hinson, the attorney for a family that experienced a very similar situation, to talk about the Medina case, as well as the positive impact they're trying to make in the wake of such a massive tragedy. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Now, this story of a young cheerleader found dead under suspicious circumstances, it might sound unfortunately familiar to you, because the investigation into the death of 16-year-old Lisbeth Medina in Edna, Texas, has some, again, stark similarities to the Tristan Bailey case. You might remember this one. Tristan was a 13-year-old high school cheerleader from St. Johns County, Florida, who was murdered by her then 14-year-old classmate Aiden Fucci in 2021. Fucci ended up changing his plea to guilty earlier this year. He was charged as an adult, and he was sentenced to life in prison. There appears to be no real motive other than Fucci just wanted to kill someone. All right, so with that in mind, I want to bring on a special guest. I want to bring on Matt Hinson, who is the attorney for the Bailey family and president of the Tristan Bailey Foundation. Matt Hinson, thanks so much for coming here on Sidebar. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
I just want your overall reaction to start, because you have another case of another young cheerleader seemingly killed in the prime of her life. What was your immediate reaction to seeing this news?
That's just gut-wrenching.
Definitely.
It's gut-wrenching for the family, for her mother, and not just for the immediate family. It's the community around her that is going to be heavily impacted. And we saw that here in St. John's, Florida, where you've got a lot of other 16 and 15 and 17-year-olds that are in classes with her that are immediately losing their innocence. And it's a heavy community impact. So we feel so devastated for that community there, much less her mother, which words can't express. The condolences there.
Yeah, sometimes we don't think about it, the impact not only on the immediate family, but the community at large. This shocks, the conscience, and we still don't know so much about this. We actually tried to get Forrest Bailey on, Tristan's father. Unfortunately, there were some scheduling issues, but the Bailey family, when they heard the news of this case, what's their reaction to it?
Obviously devastated for the same reasons I just mentioned, but I think they're also, the immediate response I think that I got was, poor mom, and they know what that mother's going through.
Yeah, exactly.
They've dealt with that obviously as a family, and in this particular case, I think their biggest thought and concern was about her family and what they're going through, what they're going to go through very early on in the process. But family and the community is at the top of their mind.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall, it wasn't a situation where when Tristan died, and clearly when Lisbeth died, the answers are right there. They got an arrest in an hour. I mean, it's that uncertainty, too, of what exactly happened and why it happened that I think is probably one of the most difficult parts, right?
Right. And there's two kind of competing powers here. One is the power of the public to know what's going on. They want to know what happened.
For sure.
They want to feel safe, and they want to feel as though there's some sense of justice and some sense of closure. There's the other competing interest, which is the law enforcement interest. And that's one of the things that the Tristan Bailey Foundation, one of our 4 pillars is victim advocacy. Part of victim advocacy is understanding that we have to work with law enforcement and prosecutors to ensure the integrity of their investigations. So a lot of times in situations like this, for instance, not a lot of information out there in the public, but that's largely likely because of a law enforcement need to keep that investigative process kind of closed off, so that if there is a confession, if there is, or if there are multiple suspects, whatever the situation is, they're going to have the ability to have that information to use for whether it's interview purposes or interrogation purposes, so that it's not out in the public.
All right, we want to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video.
Guys.
I think it's pretty clear
from
the stories that we cover that it is not always safe out there. Capital murder is kind of like it's murder with an extra factor. It's either it was committed during the commission of another felony, like a burglary or robbery. There are other kind of circumstances that don't apply here, like if it was the killing of a police officer. But the fact that they come forward with they say this is a capital murder case before any of us really know, what happened to Lisbeth. Does that seem? Is that surprising to you?
wouldn't say it's surprising. It probably gives us some clues as the public that they knew immediately that it was not anything like a suicide. They knew that it was not going to be an accidental death. It probably says that what that poor mother saw was likely heinous and not something that any of us would ever want to see from another human being, much less their child. And it gives us a little bit of clue about what's moving forward. And you take that into perspective with what the mother has already said publicly about what she saw and how horrible it was. It's my anticipation and my guess that we'll learn more in the future that it was probably brutal.
And it kind of gives you a little bit of the why. Maybe not the total why, but it kind of gives you a little bit more context about they know more of the circumstances of this killing than they're sharing with us. They have enough at this point to maybe go in a certain direction. Soon. That's the way I see it. It kind of gives me a good feeling about it. I wanted to ask you about Elizabeth's mother and, Jacqueline, regarding this. Should she seek a lawyer at this point in time?
There's a lot I don't know, so that's hard to say. It's my role with representing the Bailey family was to assist them with the media. And while I'm a lawyer and I have obviously legal insight to things, I would say she probably wants someone to help deal with the media because it is going to likely get overwhelming, whether it's local media or national media, such as your broadcast, that it will not be hurtful to have someone to help her deal with that influx of questions and when to answer, when not, and how to best cooperate with law enforcement, because there's probably things that she would like to say, but if she says them, it could potentially harm the case and the investigative process of it. And that's something that we all have to deal with anytime in these scenarios is the desire to give information, but the need to withhold it to protect the integrity of any investigation or prosecutorial process.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did you also act as maybe a liaison between the family and law enforcement? Is that a role that a lawyer could help serve for her in this case? Is that a role that you played during the Tristan Bailey case?
It is. And I acted as a liaison between law enforcement, between the prosecutor's office in St. Johns County, which I can't say enough about how amazing they were in that process and communicating with the family and communicating with me. But that's useful, having that liaison, so that one of the most important things about these situations for the victims, and when I say the victims, I don't just mean the poor young lady that was murdered, but the mother is also a victim.
Yeah, she definitely, the friends, the family, the community.
They need to take the time to be able to focus on themselves and grieve. And while we as a public have a need for information and that desire for it, we need to respect the privacy of these families when they go through this horrible situation. And there's little things, and this is part of what our foundation is about, in the victim advocacy part, is little things that can trigger emotional responses that the media may not be aware of. For instance, in the Tristan Bailey case, anytime that her photo was shown side by side with the defendant, that hurt them. They didn't like to see her photo side by side with them. So
because it brings it all back again. Now it's taken away from her daughter to somebody else.
That helped. I think I was able to help play a role in communicating with both the media and the prosecutors to deal with those scenarios.
The Tristan Bailey Foundation, is this the kind of case that you would look into and try to help Elizabeth's family navigate through?
Absolutely. And one of the key, we've had fundraisers and we've been very public here locally and some on national scale, is victim advocacy. And if there's a victim out there that we can provide any type of guidance or direction from the foundation, we'll be more than glad to assist where we can.
What would you advise, Jacqueline, at this point? What would you advise? I mean, what did you say to the family, Tristan Bailey, when this first happened? What should she be thinking about, right? It's just so fresh. It's just after she discovered the body of her daughter. What would you advise her at this point on I don't even know what to say or think moving forward as this case progresses?
Right. I don't have enough information to advise her legally, but as a human being, as a person, as a human being, as somebody who's been through a case like this, I would advise her to put herself number one. Put herself and her family
figure it out,
one,
heal,
and their long-term and short-term goals, because There are going to be short-term goals of just trying to get through day to day. And there's going to be short-term goals of making sure that a suspect is caught and prosecuted. And then there's the long-term goals of the prosecution, but also the healing. And as a human being, I would say you don't have to say yes to any interview. You don't have to say no, but work with the prosecutors and make sure that you're getting help for yourself, professional help.
Mm-hmm.
I think professional help is very important for survivors in situations like this.
By the way, how is the Bailey family doing right now?
I'd say they're doing as well as can be expected. You know, the case is, the criminal side of that is over. The defendant, Mr. Fucci, is in jail for life with a 25-year review. The mother had her case for tampering with evidence, and that is over. And so the focus then shifted into the foundation and how we can keep Tristan's bright light shining. And that's really kept them focused on the positive sides of what can happen from these scenarios, as opposed to dwelling on the negative. And they've been as strong a family as anybody I've ever met.
You mentioned it a little bit, but if there should be, and at the time of this recording, there's not, but if someone is arrested or multiple people are arrested, what should Jacqueline Medina be thinking about in terms of, or expect to feel or go through once there's an arrest and then it moves into the legal arena? Because I feel like that changes too.
Get ready.
That's a different
It's going to be a
component.
long road.
Every state's criminal procedure is different. And so the timing of how that process works out is going to be different state by state, jurisdiction by jurisdiction. But the one thing that will certainly, I would say that she needs to expect is to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
The criminal process is not one that is victim-centered generally. The criminal process is centered around the defendant's rights and the defendant's trial, if it goes to a trial. And for her to be patient and understanding, work with the prosecutors. I'm sure there's a great bunch of prosecutors there. Texas has a great history and reputation for making sure that they investigate their crimes and prosecute them. But just trust in the process, be patient, and again, focus on herself, focus on her grieving, at the same time being willing to say no if she wants to say no.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think it's important for her to hear that. And I think it's important for people to recognize that as well. It's just a really sad case. And again, we immediately thought of you guys when we saw this story. Does it shock you still that we're seeing a death of such a young person, again, taken in the prime of their life? And this is a capital murder case now, so brutally killed. I mean, it's always shocking to me, but you having been involved in a case like this where a life is taken at such a young age, does it still shock you that we're seeing this kind of thing?
It does, honestly. And I think the day that we're not shocked anymore, we have a major problem as a society if we're not shocked by these things. Because if we start to become complacent and not shocked, we're not going to take the steps necessary to try to correct whatever problems that are causing these situations to happen. So I'm absolutely shocked. My heart hurts so much, for Jacqueline, in that community, and the children in that community, those who she went to school with. Absolutely shocked.
Matt Hinson, thank you so much for coming on. Again, anybody could check out the Tristan Bailey Foundation. We had the privilege of, on Prime Crime, the show that I executive produce and host, to speak with the Bailey family, do a whole episode on Tristan Bailey. You were instrumental in helping coordinate that. Thank you so much. I hope everybody can check that out. But again, please send our best to the Bailey family, and hopefully Jacqueline Medina may be able to turn to you guys as a resource as this goes forward. But Matt Hinson, thank you so much.
Okay, guys.
Absolutely, thank you. And we're here to help people. That's what
here we go. Great video.
So we look forward to.
Great. We want to definitely thank Long Crime with Jesse Sidebar. Awesome. Love to get his footage right on the money with everything. Thank you, Jesse. And guys, it's another close to the holiday, heart-stopping moment here. Jacqueline Medina is suffering, guys. That's the mother. But not only the mother, it goes to, it's a whole community that suffers on something like this. It hits the heart of the whole small town in Texas. Edna, Texas is not a big community. It's a small community. It hits everybody in that town. And now her friends are going to suffer, not only today, not tomorrow, but for the rest of their lives. They're going to have this in their minds that their friend was taking from them at such a young age in such a brutal way. So, guys, let's have a moment of silence for the community, friends and family, and for Jacqueline. And in hope that there's closure on this right away for the family, that they catch this murderer right away. Because on the other murder in Florida with the Bailey family, within hours they caught the murderer, which was a schoolmate. This isn't going to go like that. We got to figure out how many there were, why, who, when, and what happened. And why did they choose this young girl? Nobody knows anything. Nobody. Mom was going to show up and meet her daughter at the parade that the daughter was performing in that day. The daughter never made it to the parade. Unfortunately, she was going through one of the most brutal attacks that anybody can ever imagine. Because it's not under local law enforcement anymore, guys. It's being covered by the Texas Rangers. They've taken this case over because it's a capital murder. That's bad, but it's good in a way because they'll get this guy. They don't mess around. The Texas Rangers are very highly trained and will do their job to the fullest and make sure that they apprehend the killers or killers of this young girl. The impact is going to be devastating to the family, the community. The video surveillance that they have of this guy will show on the next show. But right now, we just wanted to focus on this 16-year-old girl, Jacqueline, her mom, her friends, and the community. We don't want to talk about how she was murdered. That'll come later. But right now, the most important thing is that we find who did this, bring them to justice, and make sure they get what they deserve. Texas has the death penalty. Let's come down hard on this guy. Anybody who wants to hurt our kids in the ways that this happened, or any way possible, we come down hard on them. Eye for an eye, death penalty. So guys, let's talk about this. Let's talk. Comment. Hit me up. Like, subscribe, and let's chat about this. Because this is like the fourth story in a row where innocent young kids have to be taken off of this earth because of some asshole. Sorry about my language, guys. Some idiot. Some murderer. Scumbag that should not be here. So, Texas Rangers, we're relying on you to bring this to justice for the family, for Jacqueline, her friends, the cheerleading team, and the whole community of Edna, Texas, guys. And we can't forget Law and Crime at Jesse at Sidebar. Thank you so much for that footage. Great information. What a way to bring that attorney on for the Bailey's family to show exactly what they had to go through, which right now, Jacqueline has to sit down and relax and realize she's en route for a long road. But now the most important thing is to recover by closure, justice, and finding out who did this to the beautiful little 16-year-old cheerleader on the holidays. Guys, it's Johnny Guns Investigates, coming to you Sunday, December 10th. Thank you guys so much for listening. hit the like, subscribe. Let's chat about this and let's talk. And we're going to have a lot more coming on this story, guys, because it's just now starting. Where is this guy on the video, on the surveillance? Let's find him and let's see if he was linked or had any kind of doing to this murder. But Texas Rangers will find him, guys. So thank you so much for listening. Sunday, December 10th, guys. Johnny Guns Investigates. And remember, guys, the most important thing out there, especially near the holidays, let's be safe out there. Have a great night. Thank you so much for listening.